those who are the governors of this city, the city council people, the mayor. We pray that you will bless them, and we pray to Heavenly Father that you will help us to be mindful of the fact that they know that all power comes from you, and we thank them for that. And now, dear Heavenly Father, we pray that as they deliberate on all of the issues of the day, that you will guide them, that you will be their wisdom, that you will be their mindset, that they might do those things which are pleasing in your sight. We pray your blessings upon those who are sick today, those who have lack in their lives, those who are worried about this and that. Let them know that you're still in charge, and we give you all the glory and the praise today. And for those, we give deference to those who don't believe like I do, but I can pray in no other name except that marvelous, magnificent, munificent, that magnanimous, the monumental, mighty, majestic name of our Lord and Savior, my Messiah, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, well, not. Well, can we stand for a moment of silent prayer, please? Sorry about that. One of our community leaders has passed away, Mr. Floyd King. Mr. Floyd King joined the Civil Rights Movement for Freedom in 1968. He was assigned as a community organizer, and he worked with those tenants in the Mobile public housing sector. He most recently, created the organization People United to Save the Dream. And with that organization, they went throughout the Mobile County public school system, teaching and preaching against youth violence. He will be funeralized Saturday, but he has passed, and I would like for us to take a moment of silent prayer for his family.
Roll call. Vice President Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, that was weak. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm certainly glad to have each and every one of you. The rules and council are quite simple. We ask first that you turn off silence all electronic devices upon entering the council meeting. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item that you'd like to speak on prior to entering our meeting. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office no later than 2 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject he or she wishes to address must be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Any person who hadn't followed those instructions won't be allowed to speak. Each speaker today will be allowed 5 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. 1 minute will remain for summarizing. The second bell indicates that your time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements are to be made to me, the chair, who will recognize any council member who would like to respond. To maintain decorum, we ask that there be no undue applause and/or public outcry during the course of today's meeting. Thank you for your interest in your local municipal government.
Approval of minutes of July 17th.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved.
Communications from the mayor.
Mr. Chairman, before the mayor gets going, I'm sorry to interrupt. Might I make one announcement? And that is really just to thank Pastor Rembert for being here with us today. Pastor Rembert is with Smith Memorial Church, Smith Memorial AME Church in Hillsdale, which is one of the churches in my district, and I just appreciate him coming. He is actually back home in Mobile now after having served other churches around the country, so we welcome him here, and I will see you Thursday evening. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you,
sorry.
Pastor.
Not a problem. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday officially ended what I would call a very successful Summer Yes Initiative. With us today, we have some of the young people that had jobs associated with the Yes Initiative. For your information, we had over 200 participants working for the City of Mobile in our museums, parks. We had working at Gulf Shores businesses and even at Victory Teaching Farms. The young lady who was working at Victory Teaching Farms, I asked her if it made her want to be a farmer. She did not indicate that she wanted to be a farmer in the future, but she was appreciative of knowing what all the hard work. Stand up if you would, please. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Anybody that pulls weeds and works in a garden knows that there may be another calling for them, but thank goodness for those that are willing to do it. I would like to say that those Gulf Shores businesses that participated in this were Spectrum Resorts, The Hangout, Mayor Real Estate, Brett Robinson, and Lulu's Hospitality. If those people representing those companies are here, would you please stand? Because thank you for giving these jobs. Also today, I believe with it, as a matter of fact, I know the University of South Alabama is with us, but they were very instrumental in the training of the young people. Regions Bank is also here, and the Mobile County Public School System. This collaboration of public-private partners have come together for another opportunity to give kind of first jobs to a lot of these aspiring young people, and so I'm tremendously grateful for those that applied for and got the jobs, as well as those that provided them. But I made a comment to them just a moment ago. When you think of the logistics of taking 200, sometimes first-time jobbers, and trying to coordinate them getting to where they're supposed to be working, get them trained, that's a real logistical challenge. And so Anitra Henderson, if you would stand, please, and accept a round of applause for coordinating that. We hope that each and every one of you have a very bright future, and hopefully next year we'll be able to employ more of our young people. If you noticed earlier, you saw George Talbot, Fred Richardson, Councilor Richardson, and myself standing together having a picture made, all with our khaki suits on. Three of us, along with Councilor C.J. Small, just got back from London, where we attended the air show. While there, we met. There were others representing the City of Mobile that were from the Chamber of Commerce, and there were some representing Baldwin County. But we met with over 20 companies while there. Hopefully these are potential companies that will relocate into Mobile to support the Airbus growth. We also toured a facility, and it's, to my knowledge, the first time anyone from Mobile has toured it with the thought in mind that we had, and that was the wing facility where all the wings for every Airbus plane is made, and it's in Broughton, Wales. So a day trip doing that, seeing how they build wings, given the opportunity to speak to the president of Airbus America, I told him we could build wings in Mobile. Now, I just wanted to plant the seed to let him know that we were interested. There's nothing in the works to actually do that. But we continue to be very, very fortunate to have Airbus invest in our community by announcing that they will be building the new, what they're going to call the A220, which is the Bombardier C-Series plane. Is really exciting, because when they talk about building these planes, what that really means for Mobile is jobs. And these are excellent jobs that we'd be very fortunate to have in our community. So, in summary, I think George Talbot maybe said it best, and that was that we've been thinking big in Mobile when it comes to aviation growth, but we really probably have not been thinking big enough. And so for the point in time, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, our work today is trying to tee it up so those who follow us will have an opportunity to execute and really provide terrific jobs and growth in our community. The future's really never been brighter when it comes to Mobile being an aviation sector, aviation hub in the world, not just the United States. On another note, the city's hosting Tire Recycling Day this Saturday from 8 to 11. Mobile residents who have a photo ID will have an opportunity to drop off used tires for free in locations throughout the city. For those that are interested, the locations will be the Spring Hill Recreation Center, Public Safety Memorial Park, Medal of Honor Park, Kidd Park, Henry Aaron Park, Trinity Gardens Park, and Langen Park. You know, we have many people who work at picking up litter and picking up tires, and so this is an opportunity for you to dispose of the tires knowing that it will end up at the right place so that they don't have to be double handled at a very expensive cost to the city. So with that, I'm going to move to the podium and make a presentation. Come forward. Standing with me is Don Rose, who's really just a stand-in. Yeah, they're standing with me. Today is ADA Awareness Day. And so we have also with us Michael Davis of the Independent Living Center and Sister Lucinda Claghorn. Y'all both up in the top. Everybody would acknowledge their presence. Okay. So actually this proclamation is going to be delivered to them. But whereas on July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed into law the Americans with Disabilities Act to ensure the civil rights of people with disabilities and eliminate discrimination against them, and whereas the ADA has expanded opportunities for Americans with disabilities by reducing barriers and changing perceptions and increasing full participation in community life, which has motivated the city to continue our efforts to fully implement the ADA. And whereas throughout the year and on the anniversary of the ADA, we celebrate and recognize the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality and inclusion and recommitting our efforts to reach full ADA compliance. Now, therefore, I, William S. Stimson, the 108th Mayor of the City of Mobile, do hereby officially recognize July 26, 2018 as the 28th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Thank you very much and congratulations. And I think that Sister Claghorn has a microphone. Is it working?
Mayor, while they're getting that fixed,
I think, is this working? Yes.
If all our yes participants could stand,
Yeah.
and let's give them another big round of applause. They're going to have to leave, and so we wanted to recognize them again, and you all keep up the great work.
Sister, you can go ahead and make remarks.
The Americans with Disability Act is a landmark legislation. It is the beginning of this country being forced to live up to its ideals, where everybody, regardless of their disability or their able-bodiedness, can live in a community where they're accepted, where they're valued as human beings, and not left to be on the margins of society. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve as an appointee of the Honorable LaVon Mancy on the Mobile Advisory Commission for the Disabled. and I'm thankful for the opportunity that the city has given those of us with disabilities to be full participating members with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that come with citizenship. I thank you in behalf of all those who are disabled, particularly those with a mental illness. I hope and pray that the stigma attached to disabilities will go away, and this will truly be a society when you are seen by the content of your heart, not whether you're physically or mentally disabled. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to say good morning.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Yes, sir. And so I'd like to say good morning to everybody. And to our Honorable Mayor and City Council, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this morning about the Americans with Disabilities Act. As Sister said, it was a landmark sweeping legislation which gave equal rights, more so to persons with disabilities throughout our city, state, and country. And I once was able to ambulate, but I had an accident when I was about 13 years old, which left me a user of a wheelchair. Since that time, I have had good family and good friends to help me along the way to make achievements throughout my life. I am the director, and very proud of that, of the Independent Living Center of Mobile, an agency which helps and supports people with disabilities. Since the advent of my disability, I've watched many things transpire and change throughout our city. And I continue to watch that happen by way of curb cuts and jobs and a lot of other things that people with disabilities need, and unfortunately, some of us take for granted. So hopefully we'll continue to strive and change our community so that it is more receptive to people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all for your comments. Last night, as you know, I had an opportunity to attend a community meeting at Williamson regarding Ladd Stadium. There were a lot of emotionally charged comments. To sum it up, those in attendance want Ladd to stay like it is. Further, that they do not want the city to contribute to the construction of the stadium at USA. They are expecting the city to maintain it so it can be used. This can be done short term, but you and I both know that there are other competing priorities for the maintenance and repair dollars. For years, the problems at Ladd have been kicked down the road for someone else to handle. To date, I've heard no suggestion from the council or from the community on where the money will come from to fix Ladd. So my challenge to you is to come up with what will take $2.25 million per year for maintenance for the next 5 years so that we can make sure that it is usable. My challenge to those in the community, and my hope is that those in the community that want to see Ladd stay like it is, that they reach out within their networks, whether it's with professional football players, whether it's with sponsors, whether it's with somebody that wants to invest and build a brand new stadium. Reach out, bring to us a solution. This is not a railroad, of trying to say this is absolutely what we've got to do, but there's been nothing else put on the table to solve this problem. Yes, I clearly heard that we could spend the $10 million that would be earmarked to South Alabama, we could spend it at Ladd. But yes, you would be spending that over, let's just say, the next 5 years instead of 20 years. And there is a difference in spending it over 20 years and 5 years, and each of you know that. We can't kick this can down the road any longer. We have all the facts and information that we need from a financial standpoint. We know what's at risk. And so I hope that in your collaborative thinking that you will come back and make a recommendation on a pathway forward that the community can embrace, the administration can embrace, and that we can all support. But to not do anything and to vote no on the proposed letter of agreement with South Alabama is kicking the can down the road. And I don't want to participate in that. I will be glad, and I exhibited it last night, to engage with the community, to hear their voices. By what I started my remarks with, you know that I heard what they said. I don't know a solution based on exactly what I heard. So help us come up with that solution. If it's okay with the Vice President, part of the remarks to be made were going to be made by Jim Nagy. I was asked by Councilor John Williams to actually introduce him. I don't think he's been probably publicly introduced. And so instead of waiting during the comment period, I will go ahead and introduce him because his remarks have to do, with the Senior Bowl and LAD. Jim Nagy took over as the Executive Director of the Senior Bowl in June 2018 after spending 18 years in the NFL. In this time in the NFL, Nagy worked as an area scout in the West, Midwest, and Southeast regions, as well as in the national scouting capacity for 4 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a part of the 6 Super Bowl teams and 4 Lombardi Trophy winning clubs, the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots, the Seattle Seahawks. Prior to his time in the NFL, Nagy worked for a sports agency in New York City representing NFL players and had various jobs in the media, including a consultant role on the NFL Today pregame show on CBS and writing his own football column in the Sporting News magazine. He graduated from the University of Michigan, and his family has resided in Mobile, Alabama since 2007. Jim's wife, name is Lindsay, and is from Mobile. Now we know why he's here. He has 2 children, Hayden, his son, who is 13, and daughter Lillian is 9. So Jim, if you would come make your remarks, please.
Thank you, Mayor Stimson, for that introduction. Thank you, Council, for having me out here today. I do want to state on behalf of the Senior Bowl, we are in full support of the City of Mobile's contribution to the construction of this stadium in South Alabama. We've had a long-standing relationship with Lad People Stadium. We're playing our 70th game there this year, and it's been a good venue for us in the past. But I will say, moving forward, in order to grow our game and turn it from a game into an event, which we need to do, I feel like the situation at South would be much better for us. There are issues with the stadium at South, the construction itself, but it's more of a land issue for us right now. We are really landlocked in terms of what we can do, the opportunities we have with tailgating, different side events, stages, concert venues, things we can do to build up around the stadium and put on a true event. And I think the land out at South Alabama would allow us to do those things. In my role in the NFL, like Mayor Stimson said, I was lucky enough to work at the colleges of all the Division I schools in the country. So I've seen the impact of what having an on-campus stadium does for schools, for football programs, and then in turn a city. So I think that I hope the City Council shares that broad view of what the stadium out there would mean for the city. I just ask that the City Council support the proposed funding of the project, and the Senior Bowl is fully behind it. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Nagy?
I do have one question. Thank you for coming this morning. I kind of asked this question a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to take another route in asking this question. There was many concerns that was addressed last night at the community meeting. Yeah. My question is, if LAD stay like it is today and South Alabama were to build a stadium in, say, the next 5 years, and so 5 years from now, South has a stadium and we still have LAD Stadium as it is today, would the Senior Bowl will still move to South Alabama, or would they stay at LAD? And if they was to move to South Alabama, because LAD holds more people, would that make a big difference?
Well, it's really a hypothetical, but the the capacity of the stadium really isn't an issue for us. It's more of, we need to fill the stadium. We need to make this thing an event. The NFL's in the business now, and we're a partner of the NFL. The city's really a partner of the NFL. They're in the business of putting on events. You know, they're moving the draft around. We're a big part of the draft process. We need to maximize this and make this as big an event as we can. And whether it's this year or 5 years down the road, I don't see the landlocked issues we have there at LAD changing. So I would say, yeah, if the stadium was built in 5 years, we would probably move in 5 years.
You probably will be moving, or you will be moving?
We will be moving.
You will be moving. All right, thank you.
Yep. Anyone else? Thank you.
Yeah. No further questions for Mr. Nagy?
No, not for Mr. Nagy. I would like to go ahead and give my report up regarding the air show.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Richardson does that, could we bring Scott Novak and John Peavy to the podium to recognize some Public Works employees?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am, pardon me. And then-
That would be great. Scott, if you don't mind coming on down.
Good morning. I'm Scott Novak, the General Manager at the Mobile Tennis Center. It's been a while since we've been here to say thank you, and that's what we're here today, and to also to praise a couple of our PSW1 workers that just do a fantastic job. But I'm going to tell you about an event that's going on right now at the Tennis Center. This past weekend, the Adult Southern Sectional tennis tournament was going on. It takes 2 days off, then it resumes again on Thursday, and we start again. It's 2,000 players plus spectators, which comes out to an economic impact of over $9 million in the city and over $500,000 of taxes into the city. So it's our biggest event. We're very proud of it. We have great representation and help throughout the city, and all departments helping us, from Public Works, the electrical department out here helping us all the time, Park and Recs. But I do want to give praise to the three gentlemen behind me who just kind of the lifeblood of just making sure that the place is ready to go. It's a 60-year-old facility, and we polish that thing up, and we compete with the brand new facilities all over the country, and we get the most tournaments around the country, and we're really proud of it, and I'm really proud of the workers behind me, the job they do. I do want to introduce them. I have Albert Jackson, Sean Sykes, and Andrew Dreyer. They're great PSW1 workers. They do everything at the tennis center, as all PSW workers all around the city do, as we give praise to them, but they do anything from cutting the grass, cleaning the bathrooms, fixing cracks, whatever we need done, they do it. They also do this, is for the last 2 years, our whole staff goes to a hospitality training at the convention center for 2 days. And at first they said, why are we doing that? These guys interact with the community more than anybody that we have. So if we have probably 4,000 or 5,000 people here this week, they're the lifeblood of actually talking to all the people. And the reason we get all the tournaments back into Mobile is because these guys do a great job with their roles, their physical roles, but they also interact with the community and put a smile on their face and bring all the people back. And that's the comments we get from the USTA all the time, is that we come back to Mobile because you have a great facility, but also we're treated the right way. And it's because of these three gentlemen behind me. So we want to give them praise, and I'm real proud of what they do, and real excited about the enthusiasm they bring to the job every day. And I want you to be able to see the smiles on their faces and kind of their hard work, and actually give them the same praise that I feel for them. But thank you for what you do for us.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chairman, could we...
And Sean, he's kind of our local, smiley, friendly person. He wanted to say thank you to you in a couple sentences.
Okay. We want to get a picture. I just don't want y'all to leave before we get a picture with all of y'all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for everything that y'all do and all the sponsors that we get. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. We appreciate it.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say I'm glad to see and meet these fine gentlemen. I do have a tennis center now up and running at Figure Center. So if we have any kind of issue, I know who to call. Just want to get that in.
If y'all will join us up here, we'll get a quick photo, if you don't mind just coming up here.
Eugenia, you get to, since it's in your district. Take center
I
stage.
get the bragging rights since it's in my district.
Yeah,
Come down here.
pull up.
Okay, let's,
Absolutely.
come on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You guys come up here.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Let me get it in between if you don't
I
mind.
guess maybe pull the chairs back.
Can I put you on this side? I'm getting in between you. Yeah, there we go.
You guys.
You know I got this height problem.
Yeah, and Mayor, why don't you get in the little? Okay, there you go. All righty. We got everybody? Okay.
Got it? Thank you. Thank you all so much.
All right. I know it's a lot of intense work out there during these tournaments.
Roll our chairs back.
I'm going to have to leave for another appointment in a few minutes, so if you'll excuse me, and
Yes,
I'll
sir.
walk out when I run out of time.
And before we continue, I want to just applaud Mr. Davis with the Independent Living Agency, and also Sister Lucinda Cleghorn. She represents my office on the disabled, the Board of Disabled Individuals here in the city of Mobile, and I want to let this entire community know that I don't have a finer board appointee than Sister Lucinda Cleghorn. She keeps me aware of issues involving the disabled. And interestingly enough, this year, in January, I got to the place where I needed a wheelchair, a cane, and all of that because I fractured the patella bone in both of my knees. And so it has brought a unique sensibility to my senses as to what you all really need here in the city of Mobile, with curb cuts and making certain that accessibility is easy for you all as it is for those of us who are blessed to have the full functioning of our limbs and all our other acuity. So let's give both of them another big round of applause. And Sister Cleghorn, as long as you would love to serve, you are welcome to serve right there on that commission. You're doing an outstanding job. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Madam City Clerk. Pardon me. Councilman Richardson would like to give us his report from his travels in London.
Because I wanted the mayor to be here when I give my report. I could have waited until the end, but then I don't want to wait until the end. Okay. I want to say, first of all, ditto to everything that Mayor Stimpson said about our trip. I will put our aerospace team up against any team in the world. We had an outstanding team. It was no rest for the weary, but we got the job done that we went over there to do. I had the opportunity to travel with the team to Wales, over to this factory where they employed 6,000 employees just to build airplane wings. And they shipped those wings all around the world. Well, since they've experienced Brexit over there, the tariffs went up. And then in our country, the tariffs went up. Then they have to pay to ship the planes. And our point, if you build the planes in Mobile, you don't have to ship them, you don't have to pay no tariffs in London, you don't have to pay no tariffs in Mobile. Hook the plane, hook the wings on the plane and let them fly. And we believe that we're going to make our point. It's going to take us a little while, But we made our point over there, and I think they're going to have to listen to us. One day soon, we will be making wings in the city of Mobile. And with the decision to build the Bombardier C-230, I just wanted to demonstrate to all of you all how bright the aerospace future is for the city of Mobile. It is so bright I need my shades on to stop the light. That's how bright it is. Mr. President, I'm through. That's my remarks.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Small.
I cannot follow that act.
No, you can't.
But, and I didn't bring no shades. But I will detail to what Mayor Stimson and also my fellow colleague, Councilman Richardson, has said about Airbus. This is exciting times for the city of Mobile. Very good, great, exciting times. Many things have been stated of what we had gained and learned from England, but one important thing I have not heard any of my colleagues have stated is that the executive, the head of Airbus, stated that he knows that the work is not distributed equally at the Airbus manufacturing, that they are very well working on diversity at the Airbus facilities. Now, in the morning times, when I get up and go to the gym, I see a whole lot of fives coming from Baldwin County going to the Airbus assembly plants. But I am glad to state that the executive has stated that he's doing everything in his power to make Airbus reflect what the city of Mobile looks like. Many things they have working. One thing they're working with, especially over in England, is that they hired 50 apprentice high schoolers starting at the age of 16, where at the end of the day, they have a bus to pick up these high school students and bring to the manufacturing plant and get their minds trained in aerospace. And that is something that they're looking to do here in Mobile, Alabama. So I encourage from the school boards to the parents to help to get our students to get jobs and stay in Mobile, to have good quality jobs here in Mobile. By doing that, we need to invest more into our university education. I didn't say football, I say education, the community colleges, and also AIDT. So I encourage any student, any young adult, in a middle-aged adult to go back to school, invest into welding, invest into engineering, because again, jobs are coming to Mobile, Alabama. And I don't want a bunch of fives and Florida tags and Mississippi tags coming to Brooklyn Airplex and get these jobs. I want people that live in the Mobile area to get these fine jobs that is coming to Mobile and Alabama. And as TDJ say, get ready, get ready, get ready. Get ready, Mobile, because here it comes.
All right.
These reports have been great. I'm happy to hear of all of the progress being made with Airbus. I'm excited about this new FAL that'll be coming with the Bombardier and the what is it, the A220?
C-220.
The C-220. I'm sure that's going to require some investment from the city of Mobile, and as I hear my colleague, Councilman Small, say, you know, right now we see a lot of fives, a lot of contacts from Baldwin County, Jackson County, Mississippi, and I'm hopeful that when it's time to invest, that the leaders of those counties will be at the table as well. Mm-hmm. If your citizens are going to come here to work, then you ought to invest in bringing the plant and the FAL here, and I'm hopeful that that's something that our colleagues in Spanish Fort, Daphne, and all of those other communities in Baldwin County will be willing to consider when it's time to pony up to bring all of that here to our community. Thank you all for that report. Any other reports? We might have some other reports. Mrs. Gregory? Mr.
No,
Davis?
good.
Great. Madam City Clerk.
Monthly finance report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Vice President, I feel like you just gave the first chapter of my financial report, so
All right.
thank you for your sentiment.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to mention a few things this morning. First, as to how we're performing so far, we've had a couple of good months since the last time we talked about our revenue. We're actually up now about 3% over last year, most of that being some modest late growth in sales tax, so that is positive. We can't say what the future will bring, but so far the recent past looks promising. Our departments are continuing to do a great job on holding expenses below budget. Secondly, speaking of the budget, in 27 days, if I did the math right, the mayor will submit to you his proposed budget for 2019. We don't know what it's going to look like yet totally. Ms. Celia Sapp on the general fund and Ms. Relia Mallory on the capital fund have been working tirelessly with our departments and the others to whom we provide allocations of general fund and capital to get those budgets in line. I can tell you, as we talked about last week, that we will likely see a couple of $1 million increase in the capital fund to take into account the recent earmark. We will probably submit to you some savings in the general fund to balance that. That will be an attempt to soften some of the non-critical city spending that we do. That's where the mayor will look for savings first. But in any event, you will have submitted a balanced budget by August 20th. Lastly, I would like to mention something concerning Ladd Stadium. You know, there's been a lot of discussion, good discussion recently about capital. Whether or not you decide to invest in the USA Stadium with capital dollars over the next 20 years, what would a $2.5 million capital contribution from South look like to repurposing Ladd? What would be the capital requirements over the next 10 or 20 years if we kept Ladd and attempted to raise it to the level that it needs to be? But what has not been discussed is, what about the operations of Ladd? If Ladd stays and the games leave, what does Ladd look like? What I thought I would do is send each of you the 2017 financial statement, audited financial statement for Ladd that describes its operations. And I'll tell you in very shorthand that essentially Ladd has $1 million a year, or did in 2017, in operating income of all varieties. About $742,000 of that came from stadium and suite rentals. The remaining $250,000 came from parking, concessions, and advertising there at the stadium. Of that stadium rental, all but $137,000 came from USA, Senior Bowl, and Dollar General. So if they leave by the 1st of 2021, then we'll see a reduction of about $600,000 in operating income. Most all of the parking and advertising revenues will leave, and the concessions revenue will leave also. So about $900,000 of operating income would be lost by the spring of 2021. The expenditures are also in this audit, and you'll see those. You will see that the lion's share of those expenditures will remain in place. The operations, utilities, maintenance of the stadium. Certainly some will leave. The game day preparations that the Ladd board has to make to host those games for which it receives rent will be reduced or eliminated. But essentially we will see an operating result that will probably be at least $500,000, probably more in the range of $600,000 less, or a deficit of that amount starting in fiscal 2021. So what I wanted to do is tell you what I'm going to send to you, and then go ahead and send it to you and let you make your own decisions. And certainly I'd be happy to answer any questions. If there are questions that I can't answer, I'm sure that Ann or members of the LAD board would be more than willing to go over those numbers with you.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Mrs. Rich?
Thank you. It's very enlightening, very, very good information. I think what it tells me is that our city can have 2 large stadiums. We're just not quite at that population base to support that. So I understand the history behind LAD. I understand the community's love of that stadium because it's so ingrained. What I struggle with as a council person is, what is the cost to repurpose? And I know that that's not on your agenda, so to speak, but if we see those entities leave, we're not going to be able to pick up things to take their place necessarily, items that could be those types of venue grabbing, events. So if I just see a lack of coordination between what's going on in this community for understanding what is our next path forward. I listened to the mayor. I understand that he's now turning to council because it is ours to make a decision which path we go. But if we don't have something in place for LAD, and what's left in the community isn't what is envisioned or needed or supported, just doing nothing is not an option. South has always stated they wanted an on-campus stadium. What I had always hoped that there would be a joining of all entities, and we would create a state-of-the-art one facility. And we really didn't sit down to discuss any of that, with the university wanting it on their campus. So again, I saw in our CAFRA, and I immediately looked for LAD. And I was pleased to see that they're balanced, and if anything, they have funding. But they just don't have the ability to do anything greater with it if those entities leave. And so it's just like everything's being thrown up in the air. We have an ability to bond as a city, and I know that the administration does not look forward to that. But I know that the senior center out in West Mobile was built on a bond that was paid back with the Alabama Trust Fund over a 10-year period. And it created an entity in our town that is spectacular and very well used. So I don't know if, and the mayor's not here, but he's asking for revenue streams and ideas. But I'm wondering if we're going to repurpose exactly what the community is thinking about, short of a 40,000 seat stadium, but hosting our high schools, hosting other types of events, then could we look at a bond that has a payback mechanism for LAD, and something that when those plans are produced, we can actually develop them, and then still look at the economic development for the 20-year payment out for South Alabama. We've got a lot of struggles as a council. And again, I know bonding happened so much in this city, and we have such a bond debt and a lot of servicing that we do. But if we create a bond that has a revenue payment center to it, you have it on your books, but you're not dragging down the rest of the community by not having something to pay it back with. Similar to, like I said, with the senior center. And that was, I think, an $8 or $9 million venture for 10 years. So.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
Paul, the community knows only what we tell them, and that's what they are acting on. And to them, it looks like the city of Mobile has been asked to give $500,000 a year to USA, and they are saying that some are saying that that money could be used to do other things, and some is for it and some is not for it. And I see this like going fishing. You got to go buy a reel. You got to get some bait. And if you're going out in the water, you got to get a boat, gas. If you don't do that, you're not going to catch no fish. You just can't throw your hook out there. You got to go buy some bait. You got to spend some money. I said that to say this. You can't stop, no one has discussed the economic impact of what would happen when those 3 teams go out to South Alabama. What would the city make off that? Although they are playing at South Alabama, nobody can stop the city of Mobile from collecting hotel and lodging tax. They can't stop us from collecting money that they're gonna buy, they got to eat. They can't stop us from collecting that from when the people come to town to go to those games, although those games are out there, they can't stop us from collecting our taxes on beer and wine. Those people gonna still tailgate. They got to go buy meat to grill. We're gonna make money out of that. They got to go buy some outfits to wear to the game. We're gonna make our money. They're gonna get the hair fixed. We're gonna make our money. They're gonna gas the cars up. We're gonna make our money. I'm saying we will make our $500,000 back with economic impact. I spent $9,000 to build a moon pie, and the economic impact is $4.3 million a year. People were still whining about $900. I'm saying we got to tell the whole story. We need to look at the economic impact with South playing out there, how many people is going to draw, where they're going to live. They can't live on the campus. They're going to live in a hotel. If they stay in a hotel, we're going to make the money. Can't stop us. They got to get up and eat. We're going to make the money. They can't stop us. What's the economic impact? Add that to the $2.5 million they're going to give us, and then see what we're getting back. That's what I say.
Mr. Richardson.
Yes.
I don't discredit or discount nothing you just said. But after being at that meeting last night, I think what the people in the community are saying is that South is going to build a stadium whether we give them the $500,000 or not, and we're going to get all that money you just mentioned regardless.
And I'm saying the president of South Alabama said if we didn't give them the money, they was not going to build a stadium.
And I'm saying, I guarantee you, if we don't give them the resources, within 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 years, South will build a stadium.
I don't know.
I guarantee you, whether we give it to them or not, that's the sentiment of what was expressed to Mayor Stimson and to me and to Councilman Small and Councilwoman Rich. They're saying they understand that they're going to come here and eat and tailgate and stay in the hotels and all of that. They said, but do it, but without our $500,000 for the next 20 years. That's pretty much what I heard. And Mr. West, what you referenced about Ladd Stadium, those numbers you gave, that would have been so helpful last night. I'm just, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying this. If we had started that meeting out, if the mayor had you there to break down what Ladd takes in and where it's coming from, and if those things are gone, what they really would be bringing in a year, I think that really would have been helpful.
Well, certainly was not there, did not actually pull this information until, early this morning, but I will have it in your hands.
I just wish I could get it in the hands of everybody that was at the meeting last night. It probably would have been a much more congenial meeting.
Yeah,
Mr. Small.
Yeah, Vice President, I'd like to concur with Councilman Manza has stated that not only that, if we had this report on last night, even if Senior Bowl would have came on last evening and stated to the crowd that regardless when South build a campus, if it's in the next 3 years or 10 years or 5 years, that they're going to be moving. The discussion last night was stating, what about Senior Bowl? What about Senior Bowl? What about Senior Bowl? And, Senior Bowl should have been there on last evening. And I do understand the citizens in Maysville that that's one thing that they look one time a year, as in having an enjoyment tailgating in their neighborhood, because they feel like the quality of life is leaving from the east side of 65 going to the west side of 65. Right now, I'm not really prepared to even vote for next week. I hope that, this will be extended out a little bit longer, because the community needs to feel like that they are involved, that they have partake in the future of Ladd Stadium. Right now, $500,000 a year, for the next 20 years, that's nothing compared to other incentives that we have done or did in the city of Mobile. But when you're looking at $500,000 a year, especially to the Maysville community and surrounding areas, they can think about streets being paved. They can think about the ditch being covered. They can think about the drainage in the area, because they know regardless if it's in the next 5 or 10 years that South Alabama is going to build a stadium. But they right now looking at their drainage, they're looking at their streets, they're looking at infrastructure, and they just feel like they just pretty much laid out. And I asked a couple weeks ago for there be some type of drawing or something for the citizens in that community, and nothing has not been produced as of yet. I do appreciate Mayor Stimpson meeting with the community, but I believe that he needs to meet with the community a little bit more, get their inputs before I be ready to vote on this particular action on next week. And I hope that he does it, and for everybody can, be happy and comfortable for this to be a win-win situation for everybody. I do understand supporting South Alabama, but I also got to realize that I'm sitting up here because of the citizens, in that area that voted me to be their voice at the table. Thank you.
And I guess we've turned this into the USA South, South Alabama football hour. That wasn't our intent. I have something else I want to say, but I want to recognize Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Vice President, what's before the council?
I'll have a seat, Mr.
Please do.
Thank you.
But you started all of this, Paul West.
We look forward to seeing the information.
What's before the council is a 20-year agreement. And whenever you're talking about a 20-year agreement, you have to make some assumptions about what's going to happen over that 20-year period. And I think based on what I knew before today, and certainly reinforced from what I have heard today, I think the most likely outcome is that within the relatively near future, either with or without city and county money, the University of South Alabama is going to build a stadium on campus, and that at that point or shortly thereafter, the current bowl games that are played at Ladd Peebles Stadium will no longer be played there. And if the city does not enter into this agreement, the city will have a 75-year-old stadium that needs, by anybody's account, millions and millions of dollars in order to maintain it. And I think at that point, I believe the political reality is that at that point, it's going to be very difficult for the city council, whoever's on the city council at that point, to muster 5 votes around spending millions of dollars a year on a 40,000-seat, 75-year-old stadium that hosts high school football games. I think that's the stark reality of what we're facing. And it's a very difficult matter, but I think that I think the least likely outcome is that things are going to continue as they are currently today indefinitely. I think that's the least likely outcome. Thank you, sir.
I don't disagree with you, Mr. Davis, and as I said at last night's community meeting, some very tough decisions are going to have to be made about where do we move forward with Ladd Stadium. But Ladd Stadium is not in its own exclusive position, because right there on the interstate we have Hank Aaron Stadium. Hank Aaron Stadium's in the same boat. We spent millions of dollars to build a baseball stadium and now don't have a baseball team. And I don't care how many $1 hot dogs they try to sell, $1 beers. The city has just turned themselves off with the Bay Bears, because we know that they've already got a new home with the new stadium being built. So there's absolutely no interest in them at this point. You can give them 10-cent hot dogs. They're not going out there. And they wasn't going out there too tough before we knew they were going to Madison, Alabama. So we have a stadium problem in the city of Mobile. That's exactly what we have. And it's not just in Maysville. See, we're all on Maysville now because it's Ladd. At least Ladd has tenants. Bay Bear Stadium doesn't have, once they leave, what are we going to put in Bay Bear Stadium? So I think we need to take all of that into consideration. And not only that, you got GovQuest. We've got an underutilized facility issue in the city of Mobile. And that's what we need to tackle. And I don't know if it's a citizens committee that can help revitalize Ladd so that there are other activities besides football games there. We had a lot of people there last night. I don't know what wherewithal they have that seemed to indicate that that's something they had the ability to do. But I do know this, there is not much interest from the citizens of District 2 in issuing $500,000 a year for 20 years for a college football stadium. That's just where they are, and I am a reflection of the people who sent me here. And I'm going to be a reflection of the people who sent me here. I want South to succeed. I want them to get to be in the SEC and challenge Alabama. Troy State challenged Florida State. I want them to go as high as they can go. But I drive across concrete streets. I got citizens who don't have inlets and drains. I got kids who don't have playgrounds, and they're beating me up over it. And last night was not any help at all. And that's pretty much what I have to say on the matter.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Gregory.
Since everybody has been weighing in on this, and it wasn't something that we had intended to begin weighing in on at this point, since it is on our agenda again next week, and I'm sure the auditorium will be packed to capacity yet again. But what everybody has said, I think you can all understand that this council is not necessarily ready to make a decision one way or the other. New information has been brought to light. The meeting last night certainly showed the community's wishes to not move forward with something. I think a lot of it is just purely informational, and where do we go from here that this council is grappling with, along with the mayor. You heard him this morning. He would like some answers as well. So this council will have to decide where we go from here. What do we do next week? Do we need to back off a little bit, give it some time, and let's discuss this more to find some answers? You know, that's what we have to decide within this week. So look forward to working with my colleagues on the council, but at this point it does not sound like we have any sort of resolution at all to the request for funding for the USA Stadium. But it is something that I think we all are willing to continue tackling and working on to try to find some sort of resolution, one way or the other.
Any further comments?
One more. I'm supposed to be at a family reunion next week, and but if I was present, you know, right now my vote is no until there be another community meeting and input. But I do recommend, ask my colleagues to really just put this off until the community get more engaged in this process. And I do know that this is two separate issues between South and LAD, but it was brought together. But I ask that we do slow this down a little bit on next week, and if that's all possible. But if not, if I was president on next week, my vote will be no. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could comment too.
Mrs. Rich?
Thank you. I know that we're supposed to look at them as two separate issues, but to me, this is like a divorce. And we want it to be as amicable as possible. If we're going to send funding to one institution at a certain amount, which has been identified, but what is not identified is what needs to go back into LAD and the path forward with that. So until that is more crystallized, it's very hard to make a decision. And I would like to say, as Councilman Manzi was saying with his district, the people that I hear from that are tied to the university, either employees, especially with the athletics department, or alumni and or current students, they're all in. We could give even a lot more, in their opinion, to make that a reality, since it's such a desire that they have for their institution and its identity in town. However, if they're not, my emails are very clear on what my marching orders should be, and that is to stay with the basic services that also need improved out in the district, just like every district across the city. So it's very much something that we do need some more time. I know last night, I think it was reported that we had 2 weeks till it was coming back for a vote, but it's next week. And so right there, we publicly said 2 weeks, and that would not have been true. So again, more time so that we can build the consensus, more understanding of what resources will be needed, where those resources will come from, are going to be something I'm hoping that all of us will put our heads on and come up with the right answers for. So thank you.
And I wish, if I could, I wish that the leadership there at South Alabama, and of course I have absolutely no control over that, I wish they would be open to a concept that we see happening right there in Birmingham, where the county, the city, and the university are working together to build something in the downtown core of the city, where the action really is, where all of the vibrancy has really started to take place. We're wondering, what can we do with the space at the Civic Center? That may be an idea where we can all really work together and they not shoulder the burden of all of it. And we build something that will be transformative for this entire region, as opposed to building it out on campus, where we're trying to move the airport from out West Mobile to downtown. It just all kind of makes sense if that's something everybody would be willing to come to the table to discuss. And I believe that's something the community could buy into. But that's just my wish list. I'm not on the board of directors of the University of South Alabama, but I am on the board of directors of the city of Mobile. And I take my orders from the 27,000 board of directors in District 2. And so that's where I'm at. I can't acknowledge it, Ms. Antone, and you know that. Thank you so much. Let's continue.
Adoption of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
No, we haven't even adopted the agenda.
Pardon?
It was the second. It was adoption of the agenda.
Yeah.
We had a motion.
Moved in second.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We had a whole meeting.
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on July 28th and August the 4th on St. Francis Street from 6 to 10.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings. Today is the public hearing to consider the approval of the application of Theo Atkinson doing business as Dot Spots and Scales Fishing Charters for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to operate a shuttle for charter fishing boat service. public hearing.
Is there anyone here that'd like to speak to this particular public hearing? Mr. Theo Atkinson, are you here? Then the public hearing's closed.
Can we get them all? Can we call them all?
I am going to call them all, yes,
You
sir.
stop.
Well, I mean, I stopped
Call
from
them
Mr., because that one is different subject from the others.
We know it's different.
Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
Be the councilman. Public hearing to determine if the following structures are public nuisances and ordering them demolished. Also, public hearing to fix costs for securing structures and for demolishing structures at 1511 Next Street, 1517 Next Street, 1509 Next Street, 7241 5th Street, 568 Golden Avenue, 2571 College Street, 606 Cedar Avenue, 668 Carver Street, 1028A Newman Lane, 1028B and C Newman Lane, 1754 Virginia Street, 1105 Edward Street, 1107 Edward Street, 1032 A and B Newman Lane, 1032C Newman Lane, 1756 Virginia Street, 1111 Edwards Street, 1113 Edward Street, 7718 Avenue E, and 1304 Basil Street.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak in the public hearing for any of these properties? Yes, sir. If you could come down and give us your name and your address and the property that you're here to speak on.
Good afternoon or morning, whatever time it is right now. My name is Gerald Drakeford, and the property is 668 Carver Street. 668 Carver. C-A-R-V-E-R Street.
Mr. Doffenbach, do you have anything you'd like to?
We need to, what's the problem?
Well, what would you like to say relative to the property?
Yeah, so the family has decided to demolish the structure. So where we are right now is Alabama Power has come out and detached the power line to the home. And right now we're waiting on the new Mobile Gas to come out and remove the gas lines before we can proceed with the demolition. So that's where we are right now.
They want to do.
So they'd like to demolish it themselves, Mr.
Yes, David Dockenbaugh, Deputy Director of Municipal Enforcement. That is fantastic news. We will more than happy to step back and let the property owner go forward with the demolition.
No doubt about it.
We just need to make sure you get the demolition permit, and then we can just monitor your progress.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else that'd like to speak to any of these public hearings? If not, the public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Philip Kerrigan.
Maybe he got his information.
Joseph Jones.
I talked with.
Okay. Ordinance is held over, 64019. Rezone property at 451 and 457 Dauphin Island Parkway, 1965 and 1967 Antoine Street and 1968 Duncan Street from R1, B1, and B3 to B3.
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The resolution's held over. I'll take this one separately since it needs to be tabled. 09498, reallocate monies from the general fund, transfer to solid waste authority.
We're tabling that?
Yeah, move to table.
Move to table.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item's tabled.
21499, authorized contract with Sanders Highland Corporation for a government plaza accounting department laminate flooring and carpet. 21500, authorized contract with Stantec Consulting Services for professional services agreement for strategic advisory services, asset and portfolio management. That's it.
So moved.
Second. Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 01020 through 88021.
By council rules, this ordinance was leveled for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 09501 through 6525.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration for 09501 through
60525.
60525.
Second.
Properly motion second, any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
09501, reallocate monies from General Fund District 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 to the Parks and Recreation Department. 37502, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special retail more than 30 days license for Heron Lakes Country Club. 40503 through 4523 are declaring the aforementioned structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished and fixing the costs for securing the structures and also fixing costs for demolition of said structures. 46531, honorarily named Tennessee Street to Rayfield Davis Street. 58524, assess cost for removal of weeds, group 1577, and 6525, approved stipend for Major Linda Timms to attend the administrative officer's course at the University of Louisville.
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second, any discussion?
1 minute, Vice President.
Mr. Small.
Go ahead. Under consent resolutions, I agree to give $500 to 09501.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't say District 1. District 1 also, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Did we already discuss, you also included consent 46-53, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I was asking Councilman Richardson about that. We was looking at that particular resolution. Excuse me, make sure I get this correct. I had logged off my iPad. Yeah, resolution, consent resolution 46531, honorarily name Tennessee Street to Rayfield Davis Street. I was approached a couple years ago about renaming Tennessee Street to Rayfield Davis Street. As we look at the resolution, you know, it says, whereas even after, whereas one of the dark days in our city history is March 7, 1948, and whereas that day, Mr. Rayfield Davis, who worked as a janitor at the former Brooklyn Air Force Base, was brutally murdered and left in a ditch on Tennessee Street after simply telling a co-worker that blacks and whites would be equal soon. And it said, whereas that even after confessing to the killing, a Mobile grand jury declined to indict the person that had killed Mr. Davis. So therefore, I'm asking this council that we will honorary name Tennessee Street, Rayfield Davis Street, in honor of Mr. Rayfield Davis. This case is really being reopened for the family to see some type of justice in the future. And the street dedication, if the council will pass this on today, will be held on August the 18th, 2018 at the corner of Tennessee and Broad Street. This is a great, history in our Mobile area that has been overlooked for many years, and I'm glad to be sponsoring this resolution on today. Thank you.
Discussion.
Has there been a motion and second?
Yes.
It's been properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items passed.
CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time, 13-526 through 21-529.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of resolution 13-526 through 21-529.
With the exception of 21-527. Right?
21-527.
Because it's $207,000.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
that's
over the
right.
50,000
That's exactly
threshold.
right.
Yes.
With the exception of 21-527.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
13-526, authorized change order number 2 to contract with Ica Construction Corporation for Medal of Honor Park build condition improvements. 21-497, authorized contract with Skipper Consulting for Halls Mill and Demetropolis Road intersection analysis. 21-528, authorized contract with Southern Earth Sciences for Texas Street rehabilitation from Broad Street to Texas Street. 21-529, authorized contract with Isaiah Engineering for Dearborn Y MCA chiller replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
Mr. Vice President, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We had talked, maybe I'm missing it, but we had talked at pre-council about adding something in here for the emergency chiller.
Yeah,
She called it,
Dearborn Y.
was the last one she
Okay.
called. Yes.
But there was already one on there for
Oh, yeah.
the permanent
Right, we
replacement.
definitely
Yeah,
need
this
that
one's
one.
a rental.
It was an emergency.
The emergency.
Yeah, but
But
there
that's what
there was
she
already
called
one
out.
on there
Yeah,
for a
yeah, but no,
permanent.
there was a separate one that I gave you
Right.
to declare
An emergency or something.
I handed that one to you at the premium.
The emergency costs more than
Okay.
the-
Then that number will be, what are we doing? We're
Yeah,
doing-
this one, 21-529.
It's two.
Yeah, but
There's
21-529 is the one that was already on there. I don't think we add, because the emergency was 30-something thousand dollars.
Can you get us a number for it? We can still
That would
vote.
be 21-533, declaring an emergency and authorizing the council approve any, a chiller rental,
It was $32,000 was the amount.
$32,000. I need a second.
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
Okay. Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 01532 through 37530.
By council rules, these resolutions will level for 1 week.
Announcements.
Mr. Richardson?
Well, I would just like to say that we're getting ready to schedule competition at the tennis court at Vickers Center. Hopefully next week we will be able to announce exactly when that is. They have completed the work on the tennis courts, and I think the pickleball, the court is already marked off for pickleball also. So we're going to have, on the same court, we can play tennis and pickleball. So we're looking forward to opening that up. And that's about all. Well, let me announce that the basketball court at Sage Park, the court will be closed at 10 o'clock. They have a temporary sign up there now and a permanent sign hopefully will be put up there today or maybe tomorrow. The lights will be cut off and the court will be closed at 10 o'clock. And there will be personnel up there, and those people coming up after 10 will be asked to leave the court.
Mr. Davis? No announcements. Mrs. Gregory?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I have scheduled a meeting for the Hillsdale community for this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock at Smith Memorial AME Church. The subject of the meeting is to discuss potential impact that a new stadium at South Alabama could have on the community. We're talking traffic, parking, noise, lighting, that sort of thing. And we will be at the church tomorrow at 6 o'clock. There will be a couple of folks from South Alabama who will be prepared to speak to these issues. Also coming up, a district meeting will be held on August 6th. That's a Monday at 6 p.m. at the Emmanuel Baptist Church on Ziegler at University. And the focus of this meeting truly is on Ziegler and the widening project that is ongoing. But we will also have Chief Seeley, Chief Batiste, and John Peavy with the Public Services Department to talk about what their departments are doing, give us a status update, as well as provide information about jobs that may be available in those departments. Also, the last day for Market in the Park is coming up. That will be July 31st at Lovretta Park. We have been there every Thursday from 3 until 6. So come on out. You've only got a couple more Thursdays to get out there. July 31st will be the last day. And I also want to remind everybody that we have the Parks and Recreation community meetings going on. There will be one this Thursday, July 26th, at the Mobile Museum of Art. If you would like to talk about what you would like to see at parks, suggestions, ideas, problems, this is your opportunity to be heard. Again, that will be Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Mobile Museum of Art.
Mr. Small?
Thank you, Vice President. Just a reminder to the citizens of District 3 that on Sunday, August the 5th, from 3 to 5 p.m., we will have our annual Back to School Jam. We will have plenty of food, school supplies, music, and plenty of fun. Inviting all the children and along with their parents to come out on Sunday, August the 5th from 3 to 5 at the Pleasant Valley Shopping Center, which is located on the corner of Pleasant Valley Road and Government Boulevard. Also on August the 20th, we will have our district meeting. It will be held at the Gilliard Elementary School at 6 o'clock p.m. We had invited Mayor Sandy Stimson to come out and to address the citizens of District 3. And also we invited Mr. Chris Curry to come out and talk about the potential move of the airport relocating at the Brooklyn Aeroplex. Again, this will be August 20th at the Gilliard Elementary School at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you, Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Mrs. Rich?
Thank you very much. I would just like to remind citizens, or to tell them if they're not aware, the water tower at Medal of Honor Park will be painted and the area will be secured. Anyone who knows about that water tower also knows that the city's gymnastic program takes place there, and it will be moved for the course of the painting, and it's moved to the western annex near the art museum. And so pay attention to that. You won't have any activities in that water tower for a while. I think it's about 6 to 8 months that they'll control that site. And also, if you've looked on top of the water towers, you know that this has our cell tower equipment and poles. There will be temporary poles for Aspire, I think, and AT&T, and so they'll be on flatbed trucks. It's only temporary, and that was not to interrupt service, and those will also be placed within the park so that the service is not interrupted during that painting of the tank. And I also would like to personally take this opportunity to thank the Mobile Area Water and Sewer Board of Directors, who decided not to paint their logo on the top of the tank. There were concerns of what that might look like on the tank, and we're very pleased that they decided that was not what they're going to do. My office will pay for a small monument sign in front of the water tower with their logo instead. So I thank them for working with the community on that initiative.
I want to start out by thanking Mr. Kervin Lang, principal there at Williamson School, along with Commissioner Robert Battles, for being so hospitable on last night with our community meeting. Thank all the residents that came out, and it kind of, really reinforces why we have so many of our District 2 meetings in houses of worship. And we will continue to do that for citizens in District 2. We will be meeting in houses of prayer. I thank Mr. Stimson for coming out and for staying. He had an engagement, and his staff were really pushing him to move on, and he stayed, and I appreciate that. And to all of the citizens who came out and had so much to offer, thank you for your participation. The week will get a little better because we were selected out of 42,000 cities in the United States of America. The model we have for supply diversity was selected to be presented at the National Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials in Hollywood, Florida. And so Councilman Richardson and I, along with the architect of this program, Ms. Arshani Kidd, will be in Hollywood, Florida, putting the show on the road, letting them know how advanced we've become relative to supply diversity. We often hear that we're not making enough progress in that regard. And so it's good to know that what we're doing merits being presented on a national stage. And so I'm proud of that, and we will be there toward the end of the week. So the week starts one way and it'll end another. And any other announcements from the council? From the administration? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? With properly motion and second, any discussion?
None.
Meeting adjourned.